Oh, I think it's everything. When I train people, I tell them there's three types of communication, and body language is the largest one. So
Mhm.
we focus a lot on our text messages and our phone calls and all that, but 60% of communication is body language. And so if you're sitting there worried about the house, yes, I care about the house, but I've seen a lot of houses. I'm more worried about, are they excited or are they sitting there saying, I'm not happy with that? I just think it's everything. And again, so many people are missing it. They're off doing their own thing or they're in their phone while they're showing a house, and your
Mhm.
phone is not important in that moment. What's important is what is the reaction of your client?
All right, welcome to the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Today, I'm with Jason Mickelson out of Des Moines, Ames, Iowa. Jason is a real estate professional team leader with Century 21. He's been mentoring high performing agents for quite a while now and has transitioned into real estate after being in the automobile industry for a while and has been pretty successful out the gate and obviously has been doing this for a little bit. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. So I like to ask everybody as we get started, what's the backstory? We know you came from the automobile industry, but why real estate? How long ago? What's your history there?
I like to tell everybody that I got hired into the car business by a gentleman who trained me for 6 months and left and bought a brokerage. So he left me high and dry in 2004, and then he bought Century 21 in Ames, and he went on to grow that, and I stayed in the car industry until 2017 when I joined him.
Sure. Seemed like a lot of people switched to real estate around that time. A lot of our guests were 2017, 2018, 2019. So we hit it pretty good. We got lucky there in 2020 as far as, I don't know, we can call that, I guess it's relative if we're calling COVID lucky, but for agents, it was pretty wild and in a crazy time where everybody was moving and shaking, and now it's back to reality a little bit.
Yeah.
So good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about that. You've been in the business now for 8 years. I don't like to get into stats or anything as far as success and all that stuff, but why real estate? What is it about real estate that keeps you going?
Yeah. So basically, in the car business, you're helping people buy their transportation, and it's a wonderful way to make a living. But while you're doing that, you're still doing the same thing in real estate. It was a natural progression. Now we're helping them with the biggest purchase of their lives. One of the things I focus on heavily is buyers. I love watching buyers' faces light up as they're looking at through the house and seeing that this house is going to be a good fit, or they rule it out, and then going back to the drawing board and figuring out something else that will work. I think what drives me with this industry is just how much the clients respond and how much they enjoy the process if you do it right.
Yeah, I think you mentioned something there too, and that's an interesting notice for some agents is picking up on buyers' body language and how they look and that sort of thing is so important because I think as you remember when we just talked about COVID, but when remember those days in COVID where you'd look at 10, 15 houses with a buyer before you'd even get an accepted offer. Sometimes you're writing on half of those houses and having to make a call and tell them it's, hey, sorry, somebody else had cash and went $35,000 over asking or something like that. And so you deal with that. But I think for agents early on, especially this is where it's theirs, where people get in a rut is they get commission breath and they get stuck. And instead of paying attention to the body language of a buyer that's just there, that maybe this is their 10th house and they're getting tired of looking at houses and they're trying to talk themselves into it. How important is body language when you're in a showing, and why is it important to read your buyer's body language?
Oh, I think it's everything. When I train people, I tell them there's three types of communication, and body language is the largest one. So
Mhm.
we focus a lot on our text messages and our phone calls and all that, but 60% of communication is body language. And so if you're sitting there worried about the house, yes, I care about the house, but I've seen a lot of houses. I'm more worried about, are they excited or are they sitting there saying, I'm not happy with that? I just think it's everything. And again, so many people are missing it. They're off doing their own thing or they're in their phone while they're showing a house, and your
Mhm.
phone is not important in that moment. What's important is what is the reaction of your client?
Yeah, I think the only time I'm in my phone is when they want more information on the house that I don't have. Then I'm in my phone, but that's
Yeah,
it. That's to get an answer
yeah.
for sure. And I've had situations, and I'm sure you have, knowing a little bit about you that I do at this point, but you get a buyer in and they've looked at it and they're trying to talk themselves into buying a house that they're just tired of looking. and you know that this is going to be a bad thing down the road. I've pulled people out of the house because every house, for the most part, now has a listening device or they're listening in on what's going on. So I pull them outside and I have a conversation. I remember very early on in my career, I learned a very valuable lesson of taking this couple through the house, and I pulled them out. And the house, so he told me, I want more of a turnkey. I don't know how to fix much. I could learn. And we got a little guy on the way. And so we walk into this house. It's a ranch house, and I'm in Green Bay. So our markets aren't too much different. And walk into this house, and it's got a ravine in the backyard with a retaining wall that's falling towards the river or towards the creek in the back. And then the house smelled of smoke. They had fragrance things, and they're like, we like this house. And I'm like, I pull them outside and I'm like, no, you don't. I'm not letting you buy this house. And they go, why not? And I go, because it doesn't check any of your boxes. You're just saying that because you like the pictures online. Now that you've walked through it, look at your fiance. She wants nothing to do with this. Do you really want to have to replace all the carpet and the light fixtures and all that other stuff? And he said, yeah. And I go, and I just started shaking my head like this. I'm like, no. And he goes, okay, you're right. And he's, I just want to find a house. And I'm like, we'll get one. Just hang in there. So it happens. It's for sure. So that's huge. And I think that goes into talking about why agents, the number one reason why agents suck in real estate, in my opinion, is because they don't communicate well. So maybe elaborate on that. What do you see? Do you have any, as you're running teams, do you have any mandatory things that you tell them, hey, you need to be doing this?
Oh man, we have tons. And I think that's what separates us from the rest of the people. One of the things that people get caught up doing as a salesperson is they tell people what they can't do or what's not possible. And as I'm listening to your story, I like hearing these stories because the things that are sticking out to me are, what are we doing to enable our clients? And one of the things that people will do is they're going to say crazy stuff all the time. And what do we want to do as salespeople? Naturally, we just shut them down, and they don't feel listened to. They don't feel like we're communicating. We don't feel like they have their best interests. And the best thing that we can do in those moments when they say something that's crazy or that's different is truly an objection. And we want to make sure that we're asking them more. Tell me more. That's not how I see it. And I like to put my body language. I like to put my little, what did you say?
Yeah,
Tell me more about this, because I'm just not on the same page. That doesn't mean that I can't get there, but I need some more information.
Yep, for sure. And I think not only that, it's not even enabling. I think when we enable our buyers, we're allowing them to just tell us and we agree so we can get that contract written, right? Whereas if we empower them to understand the differences and go, hey, and take the time to educate them. I think that's where you were going with it is we want to educate them on the reasons why, and we want to have a common ground so that when they do get to that closing table, they're excited to be there and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed and there's less question marks when they started.
People tend to rush this process a little bit. And one of the things that as you become more and more experienced as an agent, you're going to get there wherever there is. You're going to get there faster than any of your buyers. And so the big thing is help them get there with you. Don't push them into it. Let them explore and understand and see that it's such a good fit. You know it's a good fit already. It checks all the boxes. They have to figure it out. And so asking those really good questions to help them remember their list, understanding their motivations, and make sure that they know that, yeah, hey, this actually is a good fit.
Yeah. And there's times even along those lines too that I'll step outside and I'll say, hey, you guys go in there without me. I don't want my influence making the decision on you buying this house. I'll be there to negotiate now, but go in, really feel it, make sure that you like the house.
How do you see their body language?
Exactly. The shoulders drop, they're less nervous, they walk right back in, and then they'll come out and go, okay. Sometimes they'll go, yeah, we like the house less. We don't like it as much.
Yeah.
And that's great.
You're saying after you've looked at it once and they're not sure, send them back in and let them just feel it out again.
Or even if they're like super excited about the house and I know it's like not checking all of their boxes, there's things that we can point out that can influence somebody on a decision. Like for me, I flip a lot of houses. So things that aren't a big deal to me are a big deal to somebody else. Yeah, a roof. I know it cost me 10 to 15 grand I can name all the prices out right away.
Sure.
But I'll go back in and I'll go, okay, you mentioned this or this. Let's go back in and just make sure that's really a big deal for you or not a big deal without me being there to influence you on this decision. So when you come back out and tell me, or I'll get the people that go in right away and they're like, yeah, we want to write on this house. It's beautiful. Okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's make sure you guys walk around, get used to the house, feel like you're living there. I'm going to go outside. If it's nice out, I'm just going to go chill out on the porch, or I'm going to make a lap around the house, make sure I don't see anything that's, a red flag. And then we have a more candid conversation at that point of, okay, yeah, this is the right decision for you. Let's roll.
On how many people look at a house. And so that information that you're bringing with them is so valuable because they look at it and they say, oh man, the carpet's bad or whatever, the paint, those things are cheap. So here's what it costs. Or maybe even the wall's got to come out. What does that look like? And so having some of that guidance along the lines of what does it take to make a house work for you is pretty important.
For sure. Now, one of the talking points we had with setting this call up, and I think this is a great segue, is having more questions loaded than actually an actual script. Like a script is okay, but it's very disingenuous a lot of times if you're not smooth with it, or you're actually not just going in and being curious for your clients. What is it really about them versus, hey, is this a bad time? Okay, cool. Great. Would you consider selling your house? And then you just go through the script. You have to be genuine and curious in your questions. So I'm a big questions guy before script. The script is great for a loose outline, but it can't be check. So I'm assuming you're the same way. Why are questions more important than scripts?
Well, 100%. One of the things that I want to do is I start each client with a blank canvas. It's a picture frame on the wall, but I can't picture this house that they want to buy. I can't understand their needs and wants because I know nothing about them. And if you play 20 questions with people, they get frustrated really quickly. It's a car guy thing to do. Don't recommend it. So you want to get them to visit with you very conversationally. And the best way we do that is through our questions because I've got this picture that I need to paint in my brain so that I can help them. Because I'll tell you, the number of times that I take somebody through one or two homes and say, hey guys, I have the perfect house for you. It's not on your list, but based on our showing, here's the things that I know you want. And this house is one I'd like to show it to you if you'll take a look at it. And they go look at it and they buy it. And it's crazy. It's not crazy because the questions were great. There's a book called Spin Selling. It was written by a research psychologist, Neil Rackham. I love that book from a standpoint. Once you're a little bit more savvy as a salesperson and you realize that we are playing 20 questions as new agents, or that we're asking really silly situation questions that require a constant, just like they have to keep feeding me information instead of having a conversation. And then you switch those into their other types of questions that he discusses in that book: situation, problem, implication, and needs payoff. Those are the four kinds of questions. And situation and problem are asked by people that are newer in the business that don't really usually work. And it's just what we've learned through society. And once you learn how to get people to really feel the need and understand where their motivations lie, once they feel it, then they're more likely to be able to express it to you out loud. And once they say it out loud, man, the deal's done.
Yep, agreed. Now, one of the things I shut you down before we started talking on this because I wanted to hear the answer live and genuine on the podcast. The title of the podcast is Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent? And you said you live for this every single day. So let's talk on that. Why that?
Yeah. So the majority of people in sales have never had any sales training and they've had no repetition. So the thing I loved about the car business is I'm sitting there we're trying to sell 20 cars a month as a good salesperson in the car industry. Real estate agents that are out there, they're trying to sell 20 in a year. And that's daunting to a lot of new people. Because you're only selling 20, that means you're only working on 30 deals. And so how do you go out and learn what you need to learn? And that's why some of these books are going to be really important. There's some really cool people on social media right now that are teaching some sales training, but ultimately going out and educating yourself on how to look for things that work. I think there's a lot of stuff that we do every day that's just completely pointless. Things we say, things we ask, things that we just do by habit. And if we're really more focused and conscientious on what we're doing and doing it on purpose, man, it's amazing what happens.
Yeah.
And it's not hard stuff. We're just helping people. And the first thing that Zig Ziglar will teach is you got to help people. If you want to get what you want, the more people you help get what they want, the more you get what you want. I love Zig. I love Jim Rohn. I love a lot of these people that were OG salespeople, but I'm also looking for those off the cuff ones like Neil Rackham, who isn't a salesperson, because a lot of good salespeople don't know why they're good. They just naturally are good salespeople, talented.
Yep.
But what are you doing? And a lot of it comes down to these questions. When I watch and read what people are writing, It's amazing. There's just no connection in the back and forth. The people will say something, and it's almost like we're slamming doors in people's faces with our messages. And it's just be a human for a second. Acknowledge what they said. Talk to them about what you think you learned, and then tell them either another question that you need more information from at that point and end with that, or tell them what you're going to do for them. Don't make this communication so hard.
Yep. So let's talk about that written communication, because I think right now we're in the AI world, right? So everything is, you can tell immediately if somebody chat GPTs because the M dashes are
Oh, yeah.
every response, and they're like fluffed up responses, and it's not really how somebody really talks, it's how AI talks. Just simple things as far as written communication, starting with that, like how can you be more genuine? It's okay to have chat GPT proofread something. I have no problem with that. But I think we're losing that genuineness from like a human to human interaction, especially in writing, because everything is easier to make it sound good with chat.
Yeah, so I spent some time thinking about this ahead of today because I was like, what message can I bring that will help people? And one of the things that I'm sitting here thinking about is how do you get better individually? When I trained my people, when they send me whatever last message the client sent them and what they're struggling with, then I have them send me a draft of what they're going to write back. And I'll take their draft and I will tweak it and make it better. But if you're a solo agent and you're out there trying to do this on your own, like how do you get better at it? And one of the things is I'm thinking about when did you have success and why? And when did you have some struggles or no response? No response tells you that whatever message you sent didn't work. And I'm not sending a message hoping that I get nothing back. So if you get nothing back, okay, now what did I tell them specifically? And one of the best things that I can teach you to try is try burying that question as the last thing. We tend to ask the question up here because that's what we're thinking about. And then we say our afterthought. Go back and reread that. Whatever you said last, you can probably put above the question and then end with your question and you'll get more responses.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because that carries into everything that we do. That could be from the first email that somebody gets sent or a first text message. Hey, my friend recommended you and we would love to work with you. And we heard good things. And then you either don't respond back right away, which is ultimately, you're going to lose that business, especially if it's not quickly.
Oh, man.
If you take more than an hour to respond to a text, I get that you're doing certain things and maybe you have some boundaries set and whatever. I get all that. That's fine. But me, I'm back to something. The reason why I think I've been so successful and sell anywhere from 75 to 110 houses a year is because I'm quick on my response. Even if I can't say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of something, I'll get back to you in a little bit. At least they feel acknowledged.
100%.
So that would be the first thing. But that carries all the way into approaching negotiations. That's communicating with other agents. It's your leverage with everything that goes in here. So maybe talk a little bit about that aspect. Once you build that foundation with something, how should agents approach negotiations to really maximize the outcomes after that?
Yeah, I think negotiations are an interesting challenge. Most people don't have the stones. Yeah, they don't have the balls to just sit there and be willing to walk away. And you don't have to walk. You saying you're going to walk away doesn't mean you're going to have to walk away for the next rest of your life. It could be for 12 hours and then you come back and revisit the situation over again. And so when I'm looking at negotiations, I think this is interesting. By the time we're at negotiations, people already look at me as their trusted advisor. Whatever I'm saying at that point, now they're like waiting to hear what is he going to say next. Yeah. And so a lot of times people will ask me, what should we offer? Now we're fundamentally back to what is the offer going to be based on? What is the market saying we should offer? What is the normal discount in our market? What are we seeing are the exceptions in our market? How long has this house been on the market and how much have they already discounted the property? I'm asking them again, more questions like, what do we know about the house? What do we know about the situation? What do we know about the seller? And then we're trying to come in. There's a lot of people that like to write a really low offer. I like to write an offer that's just low enough that it hurts for the seller to take it. I don't want them to feel good about it, but at the same time, like I'm not going to go offer them $20,000 less than I think they're going to ever take because now they're insulted. Having those conversations, asking a lot of questions and making sure that we're still hitting the needs of the buyer, but at the same time, like what is realistic and being honest about it.
Yep. And I've had that too, where my buyers are unrealistic, right? Even I work with some pretty high profile athletes here in Green Bay, and one of my one of my buyers this year, he wanted to write 50,000 less on a new build that was on the market for about 10 minutes. And I told him, I said, listen, this isn't going to go. And he goes, you never know unless you ask. So I said, all right. So I had a relationship with the other agent. I called her and I said, hey, here's what I'm writing. Keep it alive. We'll get it done. Just keep it alive. And so he ended up getting a $5,000 discount on the house. It wasn't anywhere
Got
close to
educated.
that, but she, like, knowing her and having that relationship that I built with her over the last 8 years, she said the fact that I called her and told her to keep it alive, she would have just rejected it otherwise and waited for the open house for the weekend, and that house would have been sold and they would have got another $5,000 out of it or more. But
It's cool that you have professional athletes. I don't know what that's like around Des Moines, but
yeah, Green Bay's got a few.
that's cool.
Green Bay's got a few. But yeah, and you're also too with professional athletes, you're dealing with 22 to 28-year-olds essentially who are on there. It's different. So that's good. So talk about a little bit more if we get into, I know one of the things that was brought up is you wanted to talk more about converting leads, right? So lead conversion, I call them opportunities. I don't like the word lead. That's a no-no for me. But as far as opportunity conversion, what are the common mistakes that agents make when that happens?
I love it. Like, I love the question. They wait. Like, had the conversation with my daughter this morning. You are not an order taker at Wendy's. Nothing against those. I want to get a burger and I need somebody to help me with that. But the problem is in real estate, like, we are not just sitting here waiting for them to tell us what they're going to buy. We are supposed to be putting options in front of them. And the number one thing people do is they'll say, are you ready to look at houses? Like, that question is the worst question.
Obviously, they're ready to look at houses.
Yeah, but if you didn't hear from them for 3 days, they have nothing else in their repertoire. So they ask them again, do you want to look at houses? Of course. But what house are you going to show me? And I need you to go think out of the box, a little bit out of the area, a little bit out of my price range. And maybe there's a basement that can be finished that we're not thinking about. And so really sitting there and going back to our first showing and what we learned and saying, hey, based on this criteria, here's another house. And if you're not sending them options, I don't know how you keep in front of them. Because these internet leads, they're going to forget you in a week, 2 weeks, unless you're sending them something that's of value. And so one of my favorite sayings ever is give to get. And people in this industry tend to just expect something from these clients. You'll never get it. Make sure that we're giving them value and then just watch what they shower us with back.
100%. Think about that. Like the simple gesture of getting somebody in a house. Every single time they feel like they're inconveniencing me by me going and showing them a house. I'm like, you guys, that's literally my job. My job is to show you houses. I do not get paid unless you either buy a house or sell a house. So it is my job. It is my commitment to you that I will, at the very bare minimum, go into houses with you and look at strangers' stuff. That's literally it.
And we'll have fun.
Yeah. And so but you're right. Like a big topic that I bring up on this podcast, almost every single one, and I'm going to say it again, is to provide value, expect nothing in return, and you will see that come back tenfold if you go into that mindset. And you'll also not have a feeling of entitlement. I did all this stuff for you and now you owe me. Right. I've had enough clients where they just decide, show them 10 houses and they're like, I think we're just going to rent for another year. And you're like, okay. Moving on to the next one. But you know what? They come back a year later.
No. At that point, that's where they just don't understand the value of buying today. Right. Nobody has benefited from waiting a year.
Exactly.
And so when they give you that, I want everybody on this podcast to hear something very clearly. It's an objection. Yep. Objections don't mean that it's the only way it's going to work. What objections mean is that's our job to say, what? Tell me more. Wow. You want to wait a year. What's going to be better in a year? Tell me a little bit about how this works for you. Just because we haven't found the house today, like what's our drop dead date? When do we have to have it? And let's not get frustrated too early because a year is going to cost you another 10% in a lot of markets in a lot of years.
Yep. Spot on. I was just using that facetiously, by the way.
I know. I love it. And I'm not saying that you would ever eat that. I call these shit witches, Monty.
Yeah.
Like when you hear an objection and you don't do anything about it, you just basically take a big bite of the shitwitch and you ate it. And I say that to my people, like, you just ate a shitwitch.
Yep.
Why would you do that?
I love it.
They would never do that on purpose, but we do it on accident quite often.
We do. And that's part of the business. And you have to be able to get over that too. And mindset, you're clearly a mindset guy. Like when you're getting into
100%.
your day, like that part, like that's happened to you at some point. You've worked with somebody and you had to eat a shit witch. And how do you move on from that? Because I know agents, like I have an agent in house, she'll dwell on that for a long time. She's getting a lot better. And I consider every single one of those a learning
Oh,
experience, but it
I
happens.
am a
Plus, you didn't get a
goldfish.
referral, and all of a sudden, or a testimonial, and that hurts. And she feels like she did enough to do it, and she almost always does. She's amazing, but it
I'm a
just
goldfish. And most women, most people, it's not just a woman thing. Most people are not goldfish. And if you're going to be in any sales, like what do we need? We need a very short memory. And what that means to me is remember the valuable stuff. But like anything that's not going to be good for you is something that needs to go immediately in the trash because you have to have nothing but value on your front of your mind. And so I have a very quick short shoot to the trash on anything that bad that happens, and anything that's good. I'm dissecting that bad stuff. I want to learn from it because I don't want to repeat the same past. But at the same time, like I'm sitting there saying, man, I think one of the worst things that a bad car salesperson does, if you got a second, is like what they do is they will have somebody come in, they will leave, they won't buy, and these guys will grumble about them for an hour about how those people were a bad client.
Yep.
They weren't ready to buy today. No, the reality is we should be asking ourselves, what could I have done a little differently? What question did I not ask? What car did I not bring up? In this case, which home did I not put in front of them so that they had the opportunity to say yes? They didn't say yes or no to you. They said no to the product that was in front of them, and there was probably the perfect option right next to it if you'd have just looked and asked the right questions.
Yep. 100% self accountability, looking in the mirror. Usually when something goes wrong, that's the first thing I say is, okay, have you evaluated everything you did through that process?
Yeah.
Like I have an agent leaving this week,
Oh, no.
and man, it is what it is. And I've evaluated and I replayed everything, and I can only think of one thing, and she confirmed it when I talked to her. The part that bothers me the most is I've had 9 or 10 months of backlogged things that I did on my behalf for her, or more than that. And my leash was about this big, but that's my fault, right? As the broker, that's on me, but I have to move on. I'm not going to let it hurt me anymore. It stings, but at the end of the day, it's like I got to go on to the ones that are here who are willing to put the time and effort in and not make that mistake ever again. And I won't, but you don't realize how short of a leash you have sometimes in the whole grand scheme of things. And clients are the same way. You could tongue in cheek say something, you don't even realize what you said, and they're gone. You will never hear from them again.
Man, it's so much of it is how you make them feel too, and they can't express that to you. So the people that I've lost, man, you don't know why exactly, but they didn't feel good. And if you don't feel good, they end up going somewhere else. And I think that's sad that can't connect with 100% of the people, but it's true. We're not going to work with everybody, but man, I want to work with 95% of them.
Yeah, and you will. And that approach that you have, like from your community, like you're obviously a great communicator. You're scientific about it almost.
100%.
So, you read the book, so you're curious. So I have 3 things I tell my new agents, or really any agent that comes here. You got to be patient, especially in the beginning. You got to be consistent, because if you're not doing things on the daily, you're not going to see the results you want. And you have to be curious. And if you don't do those 3 things, it's very hard to get started in this business because it's hard. This business is really freaking hard. And if you're not doing those things, or it's delayed, like it's a 90-day curve, right? Like everything you do today, you'll see the results in 90 days. So if you're not doing work now, especially in December, January, you're not going to see those results in the springtime.
This is where we make our living right now. And a lot of agents like to take it off, and it's sad because right now the best deals are out there. It's going to change for us in our market here in another couple of weeks. It's going to come to life, and we're not going to have new listings. So what's that mean? Inventory is going to shrink, and we're going to have a lot of competition. And these buyers, a lot of ones I work with are first-time home buyers. They're not what I would call a super lay down, like this is a layup deal. They don't have the cash. They don't have the big down payments. And so all of a sudden they're competing against people who do, and it's hard to win.
Yeah, I love it. Jason, that was pretty awesome. Any last parting words you want to give to agents out there on why they suck as an agent and how can they fix it?
And I think the biggest thing is you think you called and you think you've texted and you think you've emailed enough. You haven't. Get on the phone, get in front of your computer and do some work. And don't forget what I said, give to get. If more you give, the more you're going to get. And it's just that simple. Make sure that it's all about the client.
Love it. Thanks so much, Jason. Thanks for coming on, guys. That was the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast with Jason Mickelson. Thanks again, Jason.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was fun.
So that's a wrap here on the Why Do I Suck as a Real Estate Agent podcast. Thank you so much for spending time with me and our guests. The people you hear on the show really aren't guessing. They've been doing the work. They've been doing it for a long time. They're sharing their behaviors, their habits, their successes, their systems that actually lead to real work, real success. So please subscribe and follow so you don't miss the next conversation. Until next time, remember, you don't suck. You're learning. It's the beginning, or maybe you're in a rut, but you don't suck. So make a few changes, stay curious, stay consistent, and please keep coming back.